Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Siti Ivanka Nur Fadiya, and in this video, I would like to discuss about application controls and information technology general control or ITGC. But before I discuss these two topics further, I will share a little bit of information about internal control. Why? Why do we need to discuss about the internal control first? Because both application control and information technology general control or ITGC are types of internal control of a company or organization. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into the discussion. Okay, so what is internal control? According to the executive summary of the internal control, integrated framework from the Committee of Sponsoring Organization or COSO, it is defined as a process affected by an entity's board of directors or BOD, management, or other personnel which designed to provide reasonable assurance regarding the achievement of objectives relating to operations, reporting, and also compliance. The basic objective of internal controls is to establish critical process milestones that enable businesses to monitor progress and long-term performance. Um, wait. So, internal controls, which it encompass IT-dependent manual, general IT, and application controls, are crucial elements in process that enable one to assess or validate if specific requirements are being met in accordance with a particular expectations, legislation, or policy. Internal controls also gives the auditor the ability to test processes to ensure that they are well designed and functioning, which means gain assurance. So the question is, why is it so important to implement internal control in an organization? Well, it is simply because internal control can actually help organization run their day-to-day business operations, such as to help reduce or minimize the risk, safeguard of assets, maintain record accuracy, and enhance operational effectiveness, and also promote compliance to laws, rules, and regulations that have been set. So, as I have mentioned earlier, there are about 4 types of internal controls, which include manual control, here, IT-dependent manual controls, application controls, and also IT general controls. But in this video, I just discussed these 2 topics, which are application control and also ITGC or IT general control. So the discussion is limited to just these 2 topics. So the first one is application control. So application control is a security strategy developed to prevent malicious software, commonly referred to as malware, from running and spreading on computers. It guarantees that only authorized programs such as executable software libraries, script installer, compiled HTML apps, and so on that can only be executed when it is implemented effectively. Hence, by the definition of it, we can actually imply that application control can restrict the installation or usage of unauthorized apps. Okay, so application controls, which ensure that only authorized data are fully and precisely processed by that application, comprise of both automated and human manual methods. So input controls, processing controls, and output controls here are three categories for application controls. So when data enters the system, input control here checks it for accuracy and completeness. For input normalization, data conversion, data modification, and error handling, there are specific input controls. This for three of those. So process here, so processing safeguards ensure that updated data is correct and complete. So this process emphasizes on the correctness and completeness aspects of the audit. And the last one, oh, sorry. Uh, Before I jump into output, I would like to talk that processing controls can include computer matching, program edit checks, and run control totals. So the accuracy and completeness on proper distribution of computer processing results are ensured by this aspect, which is output controls. So here are the benefits of application controls. As we can see, the first one, it can identify trusted software with running permissions automatically. The second one, application controls can basically stop any illegal apps from running, or they may even prevent any illegal apps from distracting the system, and also they could be which they could be dangerous, unreliable, or just unwelcome. The third one, it may remove unauthorized and undesired programs for the network in order to lessen application risk and also information technology complexity. The next one, it can actually reduce the dangers and expenses related to malware. Uh, the fifth one, it can actually improve the stability of the entire networks. The next one is it will help in listing all applications that are active on the endpoint. And the last one actually can protect against third-party application and unpatched vulnerability exploitation. So here are examples of application controls. Basically, there are three types of example of application control. The one that I mentioned earlier, which is input, process, output, and these are the examples of each of them. So for input controls, basically application can include input controls and data editing, which ensures that only certain fields that can only be edited. Another control is separating the function of each user, so each user must initiate and authorize the action. So this one here, as you guys can see, is one of the examples of input controls. The next one, which is validity checks. So validity checks are types of processing controls which requires the application to confirm that all processed data is valid. What does that mean? So it means that the processing controls ensure that the data is in the required format or sent to the correct user. So this is the example of processing controls. And the last one for output controls, the example includes authentication. So authentication is an example of an output control in which the system authenticates the data before it leaves the system. So authorization is another tool here, but I forgot to put it on the screen. The authorization, so it is another tool that requires the application to confirm that the user has the approval to complete the action. So before I move on to IT general controls, I just want to add a little bit about the examples of application controls regarding input process and output controls. All right. So maybe for input controls, edit checks. So program routines that can be performed to edit input data for errors before they are processed. That's the definition of edit checks. So the transactions that do not meet edit criteria are uh, simply rejected by the system. For instance, that data might be checked to ensure that they are in the right format. So basically, it's the same with data editing. Okay, so for the next example, maybe for output controls. Uh, Apart from authentication, there is report distribution logs. What does that mean? So documentation specifying that authorized recipients have received their reports, checks, and other critical documents. That's the example of output controls of the application controls. Okay, so let's move on to next one. Maybe I should drag to here so that you guys can see the screen clearly. Okay, so for IT general controls, um, so basically, an organization's internal controls, known as ITGC or IT general controls, are a set of regulations that ensure or that make sure the efficient execution of control systems. So ITGC audits assist in an organization in confirming that the ITGC are implemented and operating as intended or as already planned by the organization. And also, it helps ensuring that risk is effectively managed inside the organization. So access control to physical buildings, maybe computer infrastructure, application, data are frequently included in the ITGC scope or purview, like along with controls for change management, backup recovery, operational oversight, and of computer systems, right? So the So in addition to all of this, maybe I just want to say that the control objective for information technology framework, which we know as COBIT, created by ISAKA, as SP 834, I think, yeah, contingency planning guide for information technology system by NIST, and the information technology infrastructure library are a few of the approved standard for ITGC audits. That's the compliance of ITGC. So let's move on to the types and example of ITGC. The first one is So basically, we have here 5 types of ITGC, which I will outline one by one, and I will discuss one by one. The first one is physical and environmental security. So data centers need to be secured against unforeseen environmental changes and unwanted access that can jeopardize regular business operations. So typically, proximity cards, biometric access technologies, or keypad access are used to restrict access to the data centers. So single factor and or multi-factor authentication are made possible by these strategies. So organizations frequently implement additional layers of security to prevent illegal access. Here, for instance, maybe closed-circuit video cameras are installed as a components of the total systems for monitoring physical security, and additionally, data centers require temperature controlling devices to keep the environment comfortable for both workers and equipment. That's another example for temperature system. So come back to this slide. The second one is logical security. So the access to digital asset is a must for all employees of the organization. But we know that not all of them need the same level of privilege. So it means, for example, administrators should follow the least privilege concept when granting stakeholders access to firm resources and only grant the level of access necessary to carry out a certain role's duties. So IT here can consult or communicate or coordinate whatever it is with human resource management to ascertain the resources that each employee needs to do their job before setting access level. So additionally, enterprises need to use a wide variety of security to safeguard credentials, including encryption, strong password, password rotation, multi-factor authentication, and also maybe like in this picture, biometric authentication. Come back to this slide again. The third one is backup and recovery. So what does that mean? So basically organization should set up backup and recovery practice. Why? Because they need to maintain the normal operations, like resources including as data, business processes, databases, virtual machines, and application must be protected. So cloud-based service, on-premises system, and hybrid solutions are just a few of many backup and recovery alternative available. The fourth one, maybe I think we don't need to come back to the previous slide. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, incident management. So attackers actually frequently target the IT infrastructure, right? So in order to continuously monitor their environment, receive alerts on unusual event, and also act quickly whenever the threats occur, organizations should set up continuous incident management procedures and tooling. So it is very crucial to put up automated procedures that prioritize and validate problems before contacting human teams. Like, however, systems have a tendency to deliver numerous false positive warnings. That's why an organization need to be aware of this kind of problems if they want to protect their system. That's really important thing. And last one here we have um, information security. So companies' information assets and system are protected through methods, procedure, and technologies together and referred to information security. In order to keep the information safe and secure, it is very important to implement or employ standardized information security measures. So in most cases, this entails procedures for avoiding or preventing all kinds of data loss, for instance, theft, exfiltration, corruption, and accidental modification, as well as procedure for safeguarding against well-known cyber threats and techniques, and procedure for responding to anticipated and zero-day attacks. So here are some of the difference of application controls and information technology general controls, which I present here in the form of the table. So from the definition for application control, maybe the application control is a security technique that avoids or limits the execution of an unauthorized apps that could actually potentially endanger data. Whereas ITGC, it's a set of regulation which ensures the efficient execution control systems. So basically here, ITGC applied to all computerized system and application, and they include mixture of software, hardware, and also manual procedures that shape an overall controlled environment. In contrast, for here application control, there are specific controls that differ with each computerized applications. For instance, the application controls to parallel systems differ from cell system. The next one, types. So as mentioned, general controls include software, hardware, and manual procedure. Hence, these controls may consist of software controls, computer operation controls, data security controls, administrative controls, and also physical hardware controls, and much more. On the other hand, for application control here, they just simply include input, process, and output. So each of these may consist of more kinds, which all fall under application controls. So for the scopes, application controls only have a narrower and defined scope. But however, that doesn't suggest that this control are futile. For ITGC, it affects the operation of company's whole information technology system. So therefore, it has a broader scope when it comes to its usage. So thank you. That's all from me. Thank you so much. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you guys.